the competition is crazy, right? Everyone wants to be on the top, and people become very ruthless in breaking the rules and getting to the top. So you might be wondering why some of these people on the top have no empathy. So very often for them to be on the top, there is no way for empathy, because like I said, if they're not gonna behave the way they behave, they're not gonna be on the top. So this becomes justified, right? No empathy, ruthless behavior, psychopathic behavior becomes something that they justify themselves. At some point, these people become numb to ethics, to empathy, to things like that, because they only see their goals, and everyone, like people, are just tools to get them to these goals. And once this is becoming a daily thing, it becomes easier to not have any empathy. Also, very often they feel level of privilege. Hey, this is Mike Sula from TruthTheory.com, and welcome to another video. So today we're gonna talk about psychopaths, evil elite, why they behave the way they behave. And before we're gonna start, I just want to make a quick announcement that if you want to help us out so we can create more content and basically stay alive, consider becoming a member on YouTube. You can become a member for some pennies, for very, very little, like $3 a month, which is like less than a coffee. And it will help us a lot so we can create more content. And depending on your membership, you will get access to some exclusive perks. So please consider supporting our work. Check out YouTube membership if you enjoy our content, and I'll be grateful for your help. Now let's talk about the topic. So this video is my analysis of some of the people who are on the top. Some of them have psychopathic type of behavior. Some of these people are elite, etc. You know, the purpose is not so much to create division or these guys are evil, blah, 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 let's hate them. No, this is not the purpose here. Maybe a little bit. But I'm interested more in psychology behind their behavior. And also the main purpose is to help those people who are naive, because we have a world full of naive people who believe in, you know, that a lot of these guys are nice and kind and wanna maybe support them or do something positive, or they are basically there for the benefit of these people who I'm talking about. Honestly, there are many people who are extremely naive, and they don't understand how these people on the top behave and think, because they like to create image. They are very good at propaganda, public relations, marketing and things like that, to make them look like some saviors or angels, whatever, but are complete opposite. So this video is for you guys who are still not able to understand these things or see. Maybe it's gonna open your mind a little bit. So let me tell you where my views come from. I've been studying a lot of successful or famous people for many years, read many biographies, was interested in historical figures, but I also had my own attempts to get to the top, let's say, in some fields. Like, had some periods in startups, in competitive sport where I was competing with world champions in kickboxing and things like that. And I met a couple of people in my life, not like crazy numbers, but definitely met quite a few people who are considered very top in what they do in the world. And even dated one time, for example, someone who was a an up and coming EDM star, let's say. So I have a little bit of idea of some of these people, some of the people who are considered elite, let's say, here and there. Not maybe like insane level of experience with them, but it kind of gets my ideas. And also, you know, sometimes you know other people who know someone else and you hear the stories, so you get the idea. And also when you study famous people in history and you understand a little bit more about it, everything fits together pretty well. So this is where my views come from. So first thing to think about it is that if someone wants to get to the top, whether it's entertainment, whether it's sport, whether it's politics, whether it's business, to get to the top in any of these areas, you have to become extremely dedicated. And it often takes enormous levels of sacrifice, meaning sacrificing everything almost, sometimes your own health, sometimes your own friendships, sometimes your own family, because it is like a tunnel vision where you have one goal and everything in your life revolves around reaching that goal. So this is reality, and everyone who ever got to the top will tell you that. Don't believe anything else because it's not true. Obviously, you know, it depends. Sometimes maybe the sacrifice was there in the first 5-10 years or something, and then when things are better, you can kind of chill out a little bit. Maybe you have a whole team that helps you to solve things. You can put more effort into your health, your family, things like that. It depends on every individual case and industry, whatever, but remember that. I mean, for example, Arnold Schwarzenegger was talking about it, how he had this tunnel vision. And there is a documentary on Netflix, and you can kind of read a little bit about how everything around him was always about just, you know, getting his goals. When someone in his family died, he didn't really feel sad. I think it was his brother or something. I think he said something like that. Because, you know, these people are obsessed about their goals, right? One thing very often what happens is that when we get to the top level, sports, politics, entertainment, business, whatever, the competition is crazy, right? Everyone wants to be on the top, and people become very ruthless in breaking the rules and getting to the top. And even if there is a person who does not want to participate, who doesn't want to be ruthless, let's say you come with good intentions and you want to be genuine as much as you can and ethical as much as you can, you're not gonna be allowed to be like that, because everywhere around you no one is ethical and they are just a bunch of rats backstabbing each other. So you have a choice. You either become like them, or they just gonna kick you out, use you, and you're gonna end up with nothing. And I think a good example of that is Nikola Tesla, who in my view seemed like a guy who had very idealistic, altruistic views and ideas and, you know, purpose and goals. But the environment around him was like I just described, so everyone would take advantage of him and use him, and, you know, he ended up with nothing and things like that. I remember my attempts in startups, and some of the people I dealt with were just unimaginable level of ego and greed. There was just no empathy, no friendships, nothing. They just would do anything to get to the top. And then if I would not resist and try to be competitive myself, they would just crush me on every level all the time. And that's why I left this whole thing, because I felt this is not for me. I cannot be like them. And it really made me think about what's really happening with these corporations, with the elite, with these millionaires, billionaires, because a lot of people have these idealistic ideas about these people, but this is just PR. This is just how they talk to the cameras. And what's going on behind the scenes is complete opposite. And honestly, I was sometimes naive myself. I remember, for example, when there was this self-made youngest millionaire in Poland. He's like, you know, one of the richest people on Forbes list, and he made impression on me that he's a nice guy who has a lot of similar interests to me, who is interested in a lot of things, you know, blah blah blah. I saw some similarities and I wanted to meet him. I thought he's a cool guy. He was actually doing some interviews for his podcast. He was starting out a podcast. So I reached out to him, we met, he did an interview with me. But once I got to know him a little bit better, turned out it was just all bullshit. The guy was a complete psychopath. Very calculated, very ruthless, service to self. And you know, I was just like, wow. He made this impression in the media, to the cameras and YouTube, etc., as this cool dude. But once you get to know him, it's just complete opposite. And almost every time I met someone who was super top, let's say, I'm not saying I met a lot of these people, but I met a couple of people like that. Almost always it was more or less as I just described, you know, nice to the cameras, perfect image in the media and everything. Once you get to know them, complete opposite. Very ruthless, you know, zero empathy, always think about themselves, their own goals, their image, things like that. So recently I was listening to a podcast with Jake Paul, you know, the YouTube boxer, celebrity, influencer dude who was in some Disney movies or something when he was a child. I'm not gonna judge, but honestly he seems like super fake dude to me. Very much service to self, really clever with marketing himself, all these things. So I felt like, yeah, this guy is a total what I'm describing. In the interview, he was talking about how he was growing up in LA, in that movie kind of circles, Hollywood, things like that. And how he said like, devil runs the city, how everyone was ruthless, backstabbing, etc. And I felt like, wow, this guy who I would consider like that says that everyone around him was way worse than him. So you can imagine what it was like. And he's one of many people who say these things. Many women in the entertainment industry in Hollywood said that, you know, someone told them that if you're not gonna sleep with whoever is important there, you're not gonna get a role or a job or anything. You're never gonna become successful. So again, connect the dots here, what's going on there. It's not as advertised, you know, it's complete opposite, a very ruthless environment. So you might be wondering why some of these people on the top have no empathy. So very often for them to be on the top, there is no way for empathy, because like I said, if they're not gonna behave the way they behave, they're not gonna be on the top. So this becomes justified, right? No empathy, ruthless behavior, psychopathic behavior becomes something that they justify themselves, right? And you might think, someone recently said to me, oh, how can these corporations have no ethics? You know, think about it this way. Let's say you are a butcher and first time you have to kill an animal. It's probably gonna be a shocking experience. But once you do it 10 times, 100 times, it's just another day in the office. At some point, these people become numb to ethics, to empathy, to things like that, because they only see their goals, and everyone, like people, are just tools to get them to these goals. And once this is becoming a daily thing, it becomes easier to not have any empathy. Also, very often they feel level of privilege, because, you know, like a king knows that he is a king, and some people gonna die, some people have to starve and be in poverty, and some soldiers gonna die, because it's been always like that, and they are different, and these guys are on the top, and this is like the different class, different rules, and this is what these people do, and this is what I do as a king, right? So they're gonna justify these things themselves, that this is accepted, and there is no issue. Another thing about it is, you know, very often, same way like you get a burger and you don't think about, there was a cow there that was suffering, maybe going through a lot of pain and was killed with cold blood. You don't think about it, right? Because you don't see that. You see the end product, which tastes nice and has a lot of seasoning, so, you know, it smells really good. But you don't think how it got to the form that you have it now. And this is a little bit like that with elite and psychopaths and people on the top, because they get disconnected from the suffering, from what's going on levels below them, because they don't get to see that. They don't get to interact with it very often. You know, when you are a general running things from the US and you send soldiers somewhere to Afghanistan, whatever, and, you know, you don't see bombs exploding and guys losing their limbs. You don't get to see that because you're disconnected from it. Very often language is even used to kind of make you disconnected from it even further. War will be called a campaign, for example, a military action, instead of calling it a murder or killing, whatever. Another thing about it is that if others start bending the rules around you, you start bending the rules yourself, right? Like I said, you're not gonna stay very long around people on the top if you're not gonna adapt and become like them yourself. Great examples are some of the practices of some of the biggest corporations. For example, Amazon and Jeff Bezos, it was revealed that, whatever, more than 10 years ago, something, they wanted to dominate the market, and they had this competitor, diapers.com, which was selling products for mothers and moms and diapers and things like that, and it was a way smaller company, and Bezos wanted to take them over because he thought this is going to be a perfect product for Prime members, and he wanted to buy them out. And the owners of the company, diapers.com, were not interested to sell to Amazon. So what did Bezos do? He decided to decrease the cost of his competitive products on his website, basically like things like diapers. They would lower, Amazon would lower the price and lose money. So basically they lowered the price below their own cost, losing money every month on purpose to kill the competition, because diapers.com could not compete with that, right? So when they started bleeding and they started going down, Bezos offered again to buy them out. I don't remember the full story, but I think they sold at some point. So you see, no ethics, zero. It's just game for them. It's just, you know, playing a game. They don't care there are people suffering. They don't care, you know, someone's going bankrupt. They don't give a fuck about anything like that. It's just the nature of the game. So like I said, I met a couple of these people, not too many, but a few in my life, and every single time I was disappointed. So person would appear nice publicly in front of the cameras in the media, but once I get to know them a little bit, I turn out that these people are just, you know, very much service to self, very much interested in their own stuff, only very often have very high idea of themselves, like, you know, I'm the king here, blah blah blah, but they will appear completely differently to the masses. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind, that a lot of these people will justify lack of ethics because of their superiority or belief in their superiority, and they will be completely different to the image they create. One of the most important things for some of these people is the image, because if they put effort into creating a nice image of themselves, people are gonna like them, right? Masses gonna think these people are nice people, so they're gonna buy their products, they're gonna invest in their companies, they're gonna talk nicely about them to other people, share news about them, media is gonna write nice things about them, blah, 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 blah. And that gives them more influence, more power, more money, etc. So the image for them is very important, but this image is basically just very carefully prepared and orchestrated aspect of themselves, not their true nature, not how they really behave. And unfortunately, many people fall into naively into believing that this image is actually true. Recently I asked people what did they think about Elon Musk on Facebook, and most people were like, yeah, he's such a nice guy, oh my god, he is just a savior, oh, such a kind person. Like, I don't know where you people live, but like, no one ever got into becoming one of the wealthiest people on the planet in a couple of years by being a nice person. It just never happened ever in the history, even once, right? It's complete opposite to that. His biographer recently said that he has no empathy, right? So think about it this way. Of course, he cannot have empathy because he treats people like resources. You know, you either contribute to me getting to the top, reaching my goals, or if you're not helping me out, you're gonna get eliminated. But he has to appear as a nice guy so people think he's a nice guy. Anyway, this is my view about some of these things. Let me know what you think about them in the comments. If the video makes sense to you, please give it a like. Let me know what you think about it in the comments and share it with other people. This really helps a lot. So thanks for watching. Follow me on Instagram. It's Mike Sigula on Instagram. And thanks once again. Until next time.